it's a little one-sided, the quarterfinals, I'd say. Over here in North America, it's more interesting matchups, I'll say, for that. I mean, you had the 5 tiebreakers to actually get this playoff seeding. So, you know, a lot of these teams are pretty even, which means the opening round is going to make for some very interesting matchups. Let's start off with TSM taking on Clutch Gaming in the 3-6 matchup. And these guys just played pretty recently in their tiebreaker to decide where they finish in the standings. Obviously, TSM did a little better. But earlier on in the split when these guys played, who can forget the Apollo Ezreal fiasco with some Baron steals on the Ezreal, and that's kind of the main reason they won that game. TSM was pretty ahead, and Baron steals get them ahead. The second time they play, Clutch just really put up a solid performance, looked like a really solid team, and pretty much dominated TSM in convincing fashion. This was still when Zoe was broken, so you'll see the old one-shot on Sven's Tristana here in a second. So thank goodness we're not dealing with that anymore. But I mean, that's a 2-0 for Clutch, and then they played again in this tiebreaker, a bloodbath in that bottom lane with Sven and Mithy, who really turned it on the last couple of weeks for TSM. And obviously TSM came away with the win in the tiebreaker, a pretty convincing win the other way. So just based on how TSM has looked, I mean, the last 3 weeks, they've won 6 in a row. They've looked like a dominant team during that stretch, beating some of the top teams in the league. So TSM, whew, even when they were struggling, I was thinking, this is a team, you know they're going to make playoffs, and even if they come in as the 6th seed, that's someone you're not going to want to be facing in the playoffs just because of their pedigree. And Clutch Gaming loses the final tiebreak of the week to Cloud9. They get stuck in 6th place, and they're rewarded by facing TSM. So that's going to be tough for them. The key matchup here, you got to look to that middle lane. It's probably 2 of the 3 best mid laners in the league, Bjergsen and Febvin. KDA's first and second among mid laners. CS difference, 2nd and 4th. The big difference here is that damage percentage. Bjergsen second among mid laners. Febvin down at 11th. 11th. That's means some of these subs have come in and actually done more than him. Obviously, that's not a huge knock on Febvin. It's just kind of the play style that Clutch has. A lot of the times he's in a side lane or solo lane, just farming up, waiting for these late game team fights to get rolling. So it's not a huge knock on him, but both these guys pretty solid in lane. I don't see them actually amassing huge leads against either one of them. I know you see these CS numbers and they're pretty substantial in that mid lane, but I think they'll probably even out. Obviously, it's going to pertain on what these actual matchups are in terms of champions, who they pick. I feel like there's going to be a lot of mid lane bans in this matchup, and we're going to see just how deep these guys' champion pools are, and I think both of them are capable of picking out a champion. You probably haven't even seen this split that they've played in other years throughout their career that they'll be able to bust out. So I'm not too worried about there, but there's definitely going to be a pick ban focus in that mid lane. I don't know who to give the edge to there. I guess you got to go with Bjergsen just because he's put up some ludicrous numbers the last couple of weeks. I mean, he's got 3 deaths, 23 kills, 33 assists. That is absolutely ridiculous. The Galio memes are dead. He actually looks good on that champion. Obviously, not many people are playing Syndra, but that is one of his most well-known champions. So I give a slight edge to Bjergsen there in that mid lane. But Febvin, again, is a top 3 mid this split, so that is the matchup to watch in this matchup. Gotta say, TSM, pretty heavy favorites in this one. I'm going 70-30. I can't see them having such a great end of the regular season and then just falling flat in quarterfinals. Maybe Coach Song can even showcase more so what his talents are in that draft phase. I mean, TSM big favorites here. I think they might sweep. I think they might sweep Clutch in this one. Maybe they take off the game, but I think TSM 3-0's Clutch. Even though I've been riding high on Clutch for the majority of the split, they get a tough draw in the quarterfinals, and I think TSM comes out 3-0. That's the game on Sunday. Let's go to the more interesting one, which is on Saturday. Liquid taking on Cloud9. Probably a lot earlier than people would be expecting to see these guys meet up in the playoffs. But they've gotten pretty familiar with themselves. They played twice in Week 9. But their first matchup this split, it was the Licorice Show, getting revenge against the guy that he replaced, Impact. He absolutely bodied him on the Vladimir. Obviously, he got a little bit of attention from Smoothie on the Alistar, got some ganks, but he was just 1v1 in Impact, getting solo kills throughout the whole entire game. Second matchup in Week 9 was a little different. This is when, you know, there was kind of a shift. Team Liquid had been struggling in the middle of the split, and they really turned it on the last couple of weeks. Cloud9 had been rolling for the first half of the split, and then they struggled weeks 8 and 9. They went 1-3 in that final week, which is why they're sitting in 5th place. They easily could have gotten a bye if they had won a couple games before these tiebreakers, but they're sitting at 5th. They got to a good start in that first one. Sven Skaren with the slick moves to get out, but it was Liquid that came back. And, you know, Smoothie in these last couple of weeks was getting a little too over-aggressive in some of these engages, and it ended up costing Cloud9 a lot of these fights, especially this one here. They were just over-aggressing. Liquid turns it onto a bunch of different kills. They've definitely been trending in 2 different places to close out these splits. So that's why I got to think Liquid, this is the closest matchup of all the semifinals, EU or NA. I give a slight, very slight edge to Liquid in this matchup. I'm actually going 55-45 that Liquid wins this one. I think it's going the distance. I think it's going 5 games. The key matchup to watch in this one is going to be in that bottom lane, but it's the supports. Ole and Smoothie, both these guys north of 72% kill participation, so they do a lot for their teams. And the key thing is going to be whose roams work better. I don't think there's huge advantages in any of the lanes across the map, so it's going to be pretty even. And who gets the roam on? Maybe to the mid lane to get Jensen in ahead for Smoothie, or the opposite, getting Pobelter ahead for Ole. I'd love to see these guys on more playmaking champions. Ole he's been playing a lot of Tom Kench and Braum this split. I want to see stuff like the Alistar, like the Thresh for these guys to really just get their lanes rolling, get them out ahead. That vision score per minute, I'm not really sure how much that stat actually means yet, but obviously Ole, a lot more emphasis on the vision. But I mean, Smoothie, we were talking about him as an MVP candidate basically up until week 8 when he kind of had a few duds and the team as a whole did not look as good. But I mean, you see these guys, when they're on those playmaking supports, they can completely take over games, and they're really how their teams play through, where their teams play through on where they're deciding to make these plays, these decisive calls to either a key engage or where they're moving in a macro sense around the map. So those 2 supports are going to be the key players in this upcoming set between Liquid and Cloud9. If Liquid wants to get 4th, they got to win this game and hope to get to that 3rd place match. But I do think Liquid is a slight favorite in this one, but this is going to be the closest set of the weekend in my opinion. Probably the most interesting because this could be a semifinals, maybe even a finals match, but we're getting it in the quarterfinals, so it's definitely going to be interesting. It took 9 weeks, but the playoffs are finally here. No week off in between. We're just getting right into it starting on Friday in EU, so make sure you're checking it out online because you know it's going to be some can't miss entertainment. Thanks for watching.